out, and we begin with Mr. Kenworth Tillett.
Originally, I fought the heads of agreement with everything I had. I'm about to do the same where the Maritime Act is concerned. And most of all, I'd like people to understand that this issue is not just about land. This is about the way we do things as such in Belize. Our politicians and our leaders have assumed a lot of responsibility for us. Our politicians and our leaders have been able to dictate to us a lot of stuff. And I think it's about time that changes. When I was informed about what was happening, I picked up the telephone and called a few people in Belize. And I was reassured that we as Belizeans are not going to sit down and just take what they've given to us and tell us without asking questions and probably putting a stop to it. They have tried this like at least 3 times that I know about. And I'm convinced the 4th time is not going to be a charm for them either. Belizeans living in America and abroad as such will have to find a way to voice their opinion and to be very forceful about it. And I, for one, am going to see to it that I personally, and with the endorsement of quite a few friends of mine, I'm going to see to it that these people get my message all the way up there in the Mayan monstrosity of Belmopan, that we are not going to tolerate this kind of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kenworth Tillett. We would like to call to the microphone our brother from Guatemala, Felipe Rojas, to state his closing remarks on the Guatemalan people concerned.
Lo que podría decir
What could be said
es que el presidente actual en Guatemala
is that the current president in Guatemala
sirvió en uno de los peores regímenes militares de la historia de Guatemala
participated in one of the worst military governments of Guatemala
en 1982.
in 1982.
En esa época
At that time,
destruyeron 440 aldeas completas.
440 villages were completely destroyed.
Nos dejaron 150,000 niños huérfanos.
We were left with 150,000 widows.
Guatemala posee el 2.8% de la población en América Latina.
2.8% of Latin Americans' population is in Guatemala.
Pero el 40% de los desaparecidos en América Latina son guatemaltecos.
But 40% of the disappeared of Latin America are from Guatemala.
Con este oscuro pasado,
With this dark past,
él llega nuevamente al gobierno.
he comes once again into the government.
Pero esta imagen ha sido totalmente negativa en el marco internacional.
But this has made for a completely negative image internationally.
Y está utilizando estos tratados para ganar su imagen en la Comunidad Económica Europea.
And he is using these treaties to gain an image in the European Economic Community.
Yo creo que ustedes como pueblo beliceño
I believe that you, as a people of Belize,
no pueden condenar a una parte de su pueblo a vivir bajo este régimen.
could not condemn part of your people to live under this regime.
Nosotros como pueblo no le podemos decir a ustedes qué es lo que pueden hacer,
We as a people cannot tell you as a people what to do,
pero tengan la seguridad
but be sure
que como pueblo guatemalteco
that as the people of Guatemala,
tendrán todo nuestro apoyo y nuestra solidaridad
You will have all of our support and solidarity
para mantener su soberanía.
to maintain your sovereignty.
Ustedes no necesitan el reconocimiento de nuestro gobierno para su independencia.
You do not need the recognition from our government to be independent.
Tienen todo el derecho.
You have
Gracias.
all the right to that. Thank you.
We are one people, aren't we? We are one people.
Brother Nuri, we would like to call you to the microphone, and if you can do your summary, and we will move on from there.
To make it very brief, and maybe we can carry the rest into discussion. I think it's important, as I started out earlier, in us understanding this in a historical context. It is obvious that the pressure that is on the government and the opposition is like no other pressure that's been on them before. Which means that in order for them to get the message that we have serious concern with this particular act, we also have to be as vigilant as they are. And we have to let the message be known. We are far removed from Belize, physically. But I'm sure that I am just like everybody who's here. Our heart and our concern is for what is going on in Belize. So that to hear that there is a plan like this could not go without some kind of response. If there's any Belizean right now who have some idea of the scope of this and say to himself or herself that I don't care, obviously they have no real love for Belize. Because this is something for you to be concerned about. This is something for us to show our concern. If you don't want to say you're dissatisfied, at least be willing to express your concern. Now, how would we show that we're making progress? If the act does not pass the National Assembly, it will show that the majority of the people of Belize did not go along with what the government was claiming was its position on this. Obviously, since this was included in the heads of agreement, at least point 2 of the heads of agreement in 1981, it appears that the leadership waited about 10 years before they brought it to us again. If we reject it this time, does that suggest that they will wait another 10 years before they bring it to us next time? We need to look at that. We also need to look at the fact that Guatemala is claiming that their recognition of our independence and their respect of us is really contingent on us passing this law. And all the OAS reports, all the CARICOM reports have all stated that what Belize is doing is something good. So, in other words, it looks as though the people of Belize, those of us who don't go along with this thing, don't have much support because England is not hearing, United States is not hearing, the OAS is not hearing, and CARICOM is not hearing. So it seems as if only the people of Belize are saying that we are against this thing because everybody else is saying legally it looks like the best deal you could get out of this Guatemalan dispute. If Guatemala does not get this, and therefore decides not to accept our independence, again I say, as I said before, we need only to overcome that psychological bottleneck that we keep putting ourselves into in terms of thinking that we cannot deal with those people. We can deal with those people. But the dealing with those people will require us being ready and prepared and willing to deal with those people. Now some will say, boy, we don't even care enough for state of Belize. Those of you who listen to this tape may say, then they way up the states and then they talk about care about Belize. We've heard that argument. And it's an invalid argument. It's an invalid argument because the people who are in diaspora are simply in diaspora. It doesn't mean that they are cut off and completely away from their country. Their concern is just as genuine. We can see evidence of this right now in what is happening in Madrid. It is the Palestinians abroad that is bringing pressure to bear to get that peace process as far as it has gotten. It's not the Palestinians that are there. It's the Palestinians that are abroad. So likewise, those of us who are abroad have a very important and very constructive role to play in our society. Now, I certainly would not want it to go back to Belize, whether through the honorary consul or anyone else, that this was a meeting here pulled together in opposition to the government and the UDP. Only a small-minded person would view what is going on here as that. This thing is bigger than George Price and Manuel Esquivel. This thing has to do with that which is our investment likewise. And they are not there as our lords. They are there merely as our representatives. In fact, the PUP just wanted the skin of their teeth, least we forget. So they are there to carry out a mandate, yes, but consultation with us is very important. And if we say that we are not satisfied with something, then it is not for them to say, we will go through with it anyway. It is for them to back up and say, let's go at it another way because the people will not go with it. And if we do not take this kind of position, they will assume they can do it. There's a lot that we can say on this. I think that the most important thing is to leave here tonight trying to maintain some network. Certainly, the radio show will be used as a means of keeping people constantly aware. There'll be a constant vigilance on what is happening. And certainly, our organization will be doing a lot of spare working, grassroots working to try to keep people in some coordination. But this cannot work unless each Belizean feels personally committed to what this is about. If you don't see the danger of what we're talking about, if you leave here tonight and when you get in your car driving home, you're still saying, but I just want a piece of water, what did you worry about a piece of water for? Then you need to go back to the drawing board, square one, and begin to understand the implications of this whole Maritime Act. Thank you very much.
In closing, for the purpose of our tape, and we will be here for those who want to entertain more questions and discussion on the issue. But on the behalf of the Belize Rural Economic Development of Agriculture through Alliance, BREDAA, and on the behalf of those of you who came here to participate in this very important program, this certainly won't be the last town meeting, because this is an unfolding issue as we speak. But in closing, I would like to quote Dr. Martin Luther King when he said, "In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is the defeat of time, Now is the time for Belizeans in the diaspora, as my brother have said, to make their voices be heard. Year after year, these politicians come to this part of the country to collect money for their campaigns. We are saying to them that we are not just those who give financially to a campaign, we are concerned citizens. And we feel strong enough to make our voices be heard, even though physically we are not in Belize, we have the commitment to make our voices be heard. And so as I close, I would like to say to you that this is a continuation. We will have more of this, and hopefully you can go back and impart to those who was not here tonight, to bring them at the next function that we have on this issue as it unfolds.